Good evening, everyone, and good morning to our speaker. I welcome all of you, including our speaker and all the participants, those who are joined here. This is the Veer Maheshwar Charitable Trust. This is Veer Maheshwar Charitable Trust, Latur MS India, organizing daily international webinar series. This series covers the topics from education, law, health, environment, technology, mindfulness, space technology, finance, everything. We accept the topics. And we are running this running from last 5 years. And mostly the speakers are invited women resource persons. So women from the globe are invited and from India are invited as a women empowerment series. So we are recognized as a India Book of Record, International Book of Record, and India Book of Record as a recognition. Today we welcome our today's speaker, Carole Jean ma'am, who is researcher adaptive capacity compression from United States, and her topic is why being successful today is actually costing your future growth. So today's speaker is working more than 3 decades, and she has studied the mechanics of human drive, leadership, sustainability, and adaptive capacity under continuous pressure. She is related with most organizations for identifying their leadership instability only after performance distribution, trust erosion, exclusive turnover, or static decline, and she has studied. So today she is working with the select executive physicians, leaders, organizations, and elite performance to identify instability patterns early, stabilize adaptive capacity, and preserve long-term leadership continuously in environments of sustainable complexity and demands. I welcome you, ma'am, from my organization and from all the participants, those who are joined here. And I request you, you can start your speech. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is such an honor to be here today, and we are talking about something that perhaps you haven't thought of before. And that is why being successful today is actually costing your future growth. And that seems counterintuitive. You're like, if I'm successful today, I should be successful in the future. So let's talk about, and we'll go into a couple of questions. Grab your pen, grab your paper, and get ready, because I'm going to ask you 4 questions. Now, these 4 questions are simply here to bring you into a place of reflection. It's just a short exercise. Write down your answers to the following 4 questions. Now, remember, number 1, don't overthink this. It's so easy to overthink it. Really tap into the first thing that comes into your mind. So question 1 is, what is a meaningful goal you are currently pursuing? What's a meaningful goal? Something that's important to you that you are currently pursuing, that number 1 thing. Write that down.
Let us respond to our speaker. What is your
okay? We're good?
Yeah. Who
okay.
do you need to do? So these are the simple questions participants can respond.
Yeah. So question number 2 is, who do you believe you need to be to achieve that goal? So do you need to be the responsible one? Do you need to be the fixer, the leader? Do you need to be the perfectionist? Make sure everything is right. Perhaps you need to be the peacekeeper. So think about, who do you believe you need to be in order to achieve that goal?
Self-motivator.
Self-motivator. I love that. I love that. Write that one down. Good one. So question 3, when you accomplish that goal, what will it give you? So that goal that you wrote down, when you achieve it, when you accomplish that, what is it going to give you? Is it going to give you freedom? Is it going to give you success, peace?
Sense of achievement.
Sense of achievement. Great. Oh, I love it when everybody's interactive. Good. Sense of achievement. Right. So here's the final question, number 4. Why is that important? Why is what you will receive when you accomplish that goal, when you receive that, why is it important? Does that freedom give you time to play with your kids? Does that success or achievement give you a feeling, a good feeling? Does that give you perhaps more money, more time, more credibility? Why is it important? What does it really give you underneath that?
It proves our own inner strength.
All right. Okay. Your inner strength. I love it. So set that paper aside, and we're going to come back to it in a minute. The reason I want to come back to that, though, is because hidden in those answers may be the reason that your future growth is becoming harder than it needs to be. I spend my time working with executives, founders, physician leaders, financial advisors, top performing athletes, and high performing professionals. People whose career look successful by nearly every external metric. The promotion happens, the business grows, the team performs, the numbers look strong every quarter, those KPIs are checked. Yet eventually, many of them began to notice something very subtle, very quiet. Not missed deadlines or a slip in performance or a loss of edge. What they begin to notice is friction. Things that once felt effortless now require more effort. They can still perform. They're still hitting all those metrics. They're checking the boxes, but the cost is now increasing. The same outcome requires more energy, more thinking. Wait, I may have. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my finger slipped on my button. There we go. Oh, lost my place. But the same outcome requires more energy, right? It requires more thinking, more recovery, more management, more pushing or powering through. And because they're still succeeding, most assume that they need a new strategy, a better system, a different supplement, more discipline, stronger coffee, or another productivity tool. And because they're still succeeding, that is really the trap. But what if the problem isn't strategy? What if the problem isn't optimizing what you have? What if the problem is the identity driving the strategy? let's return to the question number 3 that you answered. Grab your paper, take a little look at it. What will accomplishing your goal give you? Add it in the chat or come off mute and share. I know we had a couple when we were going through them, but if you didn't share, here's an opportunity. What will accomplishing your goal give you? Share it in the chat, unmute, whatever works. What will accomplishing your goal actually give you? What's the benefit? Let's see, what do we have here? I won't see anybody put anything in the chat there. Everybody's kind of quiet.
Boost the relationship.
Oh, okay. Better a different relationship. That's a really good one. Very good one. So these are some of the things that we hear, right? We hear it'll give me freedom, security, better experience. There we go. Confidence, peace, respect, recognition, perhaps, a feeling or sense of belonging, worthiness, stability, certainty. Now, I want you to notice something. Most of those things are not contained within the goal itself. Most of those things are not contained within the goal itself. The promotion doesn't contain worthiness. The revenue target doesn't contain belonging. The successful exit doesn't contain peace. The achievement doesn't contain confidence. Those are emotional experiences we hope achievement will finally deliver. And that matters because often the goal isn't actually about the goal. It's about what the goal proves, what it validates, who it confirms us to be. This is where my research began asking a very different question. Not what are successful people doing, but who do successful people believe they must be? Because underneath nearly every high achiever I studied was an identity. The responsible one, the fixer, the provider, the peacekeeper, the performer, the protector, the achiever. I call these meta roles, not because they are roles that we play, but because they drive and organize many of the other roles we take on. They become an identity. And here's what makes meta roles so powerful. Most of us adopted them before we had the maturity to consciously choose them. As children, we are wired for connection. We are wired for belonging, for safety, for acceptance. And we become remarkably skilled at learning what earns those things. Maybe being responsible earned approval. Maybe solving problems earned attention when you were little. Maybe performing earned praise from your parents. Over time, the adaptation becomes an identity. And eventually, we stop seeing it as something we learned. We start seeing it as who we are. The responsible one says, this is just who I am. The fixer says, I've always been this way. As long as I can remember, this is just me. I'm the fixer. Bring me a problem, I'll solve it. The The provider says, people depend on me. I'm the one that needs to make sure everyone's taken care of. They have what they need. And they are often right. Because these identities work. They're successful. In fact, they're often create extraordinary success, which is why they become so difficult to question. The role gets rewarded. We get a nice big dopamine hit. It feels good when we're successful. And because of that feel-good experience, the identity gets reinforced and it gets strengthened. That fixer becomes who we need to be, not just who we are. And success becomes the evidence that the role is necessary. It's constantly reinforcing itself. This is where today's success quietly begins costing future growth. It's the success trap. Because every success driven by a meta role creates more demand. The responsible one, that was mine. I don't know about you. That was mine. I was the responsible one. When we are the responsible one, we receive more responsibility. People begin to defer to us and expect us to be responsible for everything. The fixer receives more problems. You ever noticed if you're the fixer in the room, all of a sudden you're the go-to person. You're the one where anytime there's a problem, they're coming to you first. They're going to ask you, hey, what can I do? Here's my problem. The provider receives more obligations. The performer receives higher expectations. This was one of my other meta roles. I don't know about y'all. When you're the performer, you're getting things done and you are successful. You make sure that things happen. And when it does, not only is everyone else having higher expectations, you also begin to have higher expectations of yourself. The peacekeeper receives more emotional labor, more conflict to resolve, more relationships to try and navigate and referee. Success doesn't reduce demand. Success often expands it. Have you noticed this in your own life? And over time, those demands, they accumulate, they build up. We have more roles, more obligations, more decisions, more expectations, more invisible weight on our shoulders. This is where my work focuses on adaptive capacity. Adaptive capacity is our ability to adjust to changing conditions while maintaining enough clarity, energy, and flexibility to respond effectively and in alignment with our highest and best. Adaptive capacity is what allows us to navigate complexity. We can live in chaos very easily when our adaptive capacity is in alignment. It allows us to see options, to recognize opportunities, to make decisions with appropriate speed. And speed is key in leadership. To read through uncertainty. But adaptive capacity is not unlimited. I wish it was. I wish it was unlimited. I know you do too. If at 3 o'clock in the afternoon you are tired and you are reaching for that fourth cup of coffee, we are definitely wishing adaptive capacity was unlimited. Every role consumes resources. Every obligation consumes resources. Every identity consumes resources. Eventually, the demand exceeds what the system can sustainably support. That is when adaptive capacity compression begins. Most people assume the cost is energy. Energy is simply the first thing we notice. The deeper cost is possibility. Robin Sharma has a fabulous word that I love. And he says, I'm a possibilitarian. And when he said that, I got so excited because possibilities, being a possibilitarian, means that you can see opportunities, you can see possibilities, you can see the solution, the out of the box thinking for where you are in your life. But when adaptive capacity is compressed, that deeper cost is our ability to see possibility. Because capacity isn't just what allows us to perform. Capacity is what allows us to imagine. When capacity compresses, when those margins start to tighten, we see fewer options. We become less flexible, a little more entrenched in our routine and our rightness. We become more reactive. Our kid accidentally drops something and spills it. And instead of just cleaning it up, it's no big deal, we snap. How could you drop that? What is wrong with you? I have too much to do to be cleaning up behind you. And then the shame hits. You feel horrible. You're more reactive than you normally would, and you know it. We become more protective of our time, more protective of what's ours. We become more attached to what already works. And as leaders, this can be very, very dangerous, a very slippery slope when we are attached to what already works. Because we stop exploring. We stop expanding. We stop imagining different possibilities. We stop being compassionately curious. The greatest threat isn't a missed deadline or failure. The greatest threat is becoming trapped inside an identity that can no longer see beyond itself. The responsible one sees more responsibility. The fixer sees more problems. The provider sees more obligations. The lens that created that success, it becomes too small for future growth. It narrows your ability to see what is possible. And opportunities can exist directly in front of us without being visible. Not because they aren't there, but because we no longer have the capacity to perceive them. Let me show you what this looks like for one of my clients. Sarah was a highly successful executive preparing to step into a C-suite role. She had strong performance. Her reviews and her metrics were impeccable. She had healthy habits. She hit the gym every morning at 5:30. She started her day with a green juice. She had excellent sleep. She had a sleep tracker. She knew how well she was sleeping, how much she was sleeping. She had great medical reports. All of her labs, her hormone levels, her iron, her vitamin D, everything was perfect. It was in a normal range. Everything looked fine on paper. Yet she felt a growing internal drag. She found herself rereading reports, ones that she would have gone through, glanced at, digested, no problem. All of a sudden, she found herself going back and reading that same report at least once or twice, worried she might be missing something. She began second-guessing emails. What did they really mean? Did I miss something? Did I understand that? Did my reply to that email really answer the question? And she would go back and second-guess those. She began forgetting small details. One of those was she responded to an important text message. And when she didn't get a response, she went back to see what was going on and realized she'd never hit send. It was still sitting there. Needing more effort for tasks that once felt easy to her. She assumed she needed a better strategy. What she actually needed was a better understanding of adaptive capacity. When we mapped her role landscape, that atlas of adaptive capacity, she discovered she was carrying far more responsibility than she had ever realized. Her dominant meta role was the responsible one. For years, it had helped create extraordinary success, but it had also quietly expanded the demands that she carried. She wasn't incapable. She had amazing skills and abilities. She wasn't failing. She wasn't missing deadlines or failing to complete everything on her agenda. She was operating with compressed adaptive capacity. Once we addressed that underlying compression and recalibrated how she related to those demands, something remarkable happened. Not because she became someone different, but because she regained access to adaptive capacity that had been consumed in so many areas she wasn't consciously aware of. Her clarity returned. Her flexibility returned. Her confidence returned. And she stepped into a larger leadership role with less effort and more possibility available than she had experienced in years. One of the things she told me when she moved into her new role after a few months in that C-suite, she said, "Carole Jean, this was transformative. In the past, anytime I had moved up in my leadership, there was always this huge weight of imposter syndrome." She said, "I haven't felt that this time. That hasn't even entered my mind." So take out that paper again. Look at your answers. Who do you believe you need to be? And what do you believe this goal will finally give you? Now ask yourself, does this goal reflect what I genuinely value? Or does it validate an identity I've spent a lifetime protecting. There is a difference. One creates expansion, the other creates reinforcement. Now, the goal is not to eliminate ambition. We are ambitious people. We have drive, we have desires and things that we want to achieve. And the goal is not to stop achieving them. The goal is not to abandon the strengths that got you here. The goal is to recognize when an identity that once served you, and we want to say thank you to it. We don't want to be mean to it. We don't want to condemn it. We want to be truly thankful because it did serve us. And what once served you has become the ceiling on what is possible next. Someone has put a block above your head, so to speak. Because growth is not determined by how much pressure you can tolerate. I will guarantee everyone in this room can handle some pressure, some stress. You have a great tolerance for pressure. Growth is determined by how much adaptive capacity remains available when opportunity arrives. And the future belongs to those who can continually recalibrate what they carry so that they have the capacity to see what's coming next. The question isn't whether your meta role helped create today's success. The question is whether if it is now limiting tomorrow's possibilities. And that may be the most important leadership question you'll ever ask yourself. I invite you to join our monthly newsletter and receive our latest research from Whittington Institute. Get notified about upcoming events and resources, including articles. You can visit whittingtonwellbeing.com and you can join our newsletter, and I'll pop that into the chat. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you here today, and I hope that this has really spoken to an area in your life that maybe you haven't looked at before. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed this. I appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions? Did anything come up around that meta role? Was one of those really speaking to you? Let me know in the chat or come off mute and feel free to share.
Yeah. Now the session is open. It was a great to listen on this topic from you with examples, success stories, and your clients, your experience also in this field. So now the dais is open for the discussion. The participants are requested to unmute themselves and they can discuss with our speaker.
And if I just blew your mind and you're like still processing and you're like, I don't know what to ask or what to say, that's okay too. It happens.
Yes, sir. Dr. Swanand Shukla, sir, please.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Yes.
Dr. Swanand Shukla.
Hello.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It is really a great pleasure to listen to you and your thoughts especially, and wonderfully explained and wonderfully projected also. So definitely, when we are talking about the definition of success, number of things comes in our mind. And, the self-actualization is one of the process where we, really develop our goals, planning, and then thinking, meditation about the subject, and then we start implementing, and then we achieve our goal. But it is said that the journey is much beautiful than the destination. Whether you believe in this sentence or you think that if suppose one person cannot reach to destination is not successful. So what is right exactly?
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. It really is about the journey and being compassionately curious, infusing play, joy, and laughter in the process, because success isn't a termination. It isn't a point or a destination we reach. It's just part of that journey. And I think sometimes as we begin to think about success or achievement, one of the greatest, I think, shifts that we can have, and I would love to hear what you feel and think about this, but it's how are we defining success? And how are we redefining success as we go through our journey in life and begin to learn more about who we are becoming? Because we are constantly evolving and our identities are shifting with us. Do you also feel that success is about how we define that, not what other people tell us, but what's important to us?
Yes, success is considered to be a subjective feeling, because what I feel, my inner voice is saying that I have achieved my goal and target may not be for other person. Or maybe the success definition, also changes with the timeline. So what I was thinking 10 years back and what I'm thinking today is also very different. So
Yes.
it is like a mirage, it is like a mirage. We cannot, sometimes we cannot, once we achieve one goal, the another goal is standing in front of us. So we are running behind these goals and success. But I think going behind the word success, what is more important word is satisfaction and gratification. So one should get gratified and satisfied at one level. So that rest will stop with oneself. So success is of course defined by every person can have his own definition also, and then he can express. But wonderfully, you have explained that performer, the fixer, and other things. And we have to categorize ourselves into these categories. And if suppose it is on the negative aspect, we have to improvise ourselves. And I think the self-motivation and that inner, that will and wish and the power of imagination is so important for this. Nowadays, what people are finding, what is very costly is time. People are not getting time, they don't sit and they don't meditate and they don't think and they don't imagine. They just follow the guidelines of the books and the text and the protocols, whatever mentioned, and they follow them blindly. So I think it is a time to think in our own way and in a different way. And maybe it may be wrong, but at least you think Mr. Edison tried 10,000 times and then he developed bulb. So I think we can think at least 10 times and we can find the path of success. Thank you very much. Wonderful presentation you have made today. And really, we started thinking and meditating on the subject and topic. And thank you very much. And I think it is a good morning at DC Washington. Thank you.
Yes, it is. And you bring up something really important, and you mentioned meditating. And I think part of the work that I do and in the research that I've done over the last 6 years, specifically into elite performers and how does this show up for sustainable success and adaptive capacity. And it really comes to that place of reflection brings about awareness, brings something to the conscious mind. And in that reflection, that meditation, it requires stillness. And if you'll scroll down to the the bottom of my website, I put a link there where you can go sign up for the newsletter. But if you go to the website at the very bottom, there's something called the Stillness Guide. And it's 30 days of different ways to bring in stillness so that you can begin to reflect, because reflection brings about awareness, and awareness leads us to the greatest power that we possess, and that is choice, how we choose. And it's interesting because usually in this group of high-performing, high-achieving leaders and elite athletes, what I see is that they have been so fixated on one goal after another. I'm going to achieve this. I ring the bell and I do the next thing. And they've never even stopped to even really celebrate or appreciate the win. They just look for the next thing. They're on the mountaintop looking at the next mountain. They're not looking at and celebrating and turning around and going, wow, look at what I got, how I got here and who I am up here in this rare air moment at the top of the mountain. And what's interesting when we talk about those meta roles is that the fixer or the responsible one, if that's something that you feel like, from an early age, you are the responsible one. Maybe you're the eldest child in your family. I'm the eldest and I ended up with that responsible one. How many people in this room are you're the firstborn, you're the responsible one? Or maybe you're the first girl or the first boy in your family, and that kind of gets put on your shoulders. What's interesting is that in our lifespan, our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, as we're going through life, we're getting married, we're choosing new careers, or maybe we're ascending into higher roles of leadership. Maybe we're volunteering in our community and taking on leadership roles. What's interesting and what I have found is those who have a meta role, if we do an inventory, we take a count, and I ask before we start, how many roles do you think you're filling in your life? For me, mom, wife, researcher, scientist, public health biostatistician, all of those things, right? Those are the roles that I'm filling. Community leader, volunteer. And I might have said, probably about 20, 25 roles. And then you complete the inventory and you get an actual count of all of the roles you're filling. You have to, you're really paying attention and thinking, well, what am I actually doing in my life? And it's usually 2 to 6 times higher when you have a meta role. So the person that guessed, maybe I have 25 roles, actually has 78. And it's amazing within the population that I work with, it is often so much higher than they ever imagined. And it is quite shocking when they see the number and they go, oh, I had 78. I only thought I had like 20 or 25. No wonder I'm so tired. No wonder I don't have enough resources at the end of the day. And so those are some of the things that really impact the energy, the resources that we have. And so sometimes success is reevaluating what roles are we filling. Are they even mine anymore? They might have been mine back in my 20s, but in my 50s, heck no, that's not mine. I don't need to be doing that anymore. My children are grown. They can do it themselves. Those kind of things that we start to look at. And when we see that when a meta role is present, that it's a multiplier. It really multiplies and expands the number of roles we take on, because if I identify as the responsible one, how many roles in my life have I taken on because I'm reinforcing I'm responsible? Does that resonate? I see your head nodding.
Great explanation, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think I will I will concise it into one word, that is a self-realization, what I am. And to know oneself is a success. Many of the time people are lost in, whether people are appreciating me or on social medias, whether they are giving thumbs ups or no. So that is what people consider nowadays a success, which is very superficial. And, we should not consider it as a success. But, my inner voice should say that, yes, I have achieved something. I think that is a real success. Thank you.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, Carol, Dr. Swanand Shukla, who is interacting you now and right from the starting, he's a medical professional working on various committees as a leader of our government, and also working with the students, many students, and having a social responsibility of him also. He is also working for the tribals. And while reading your CV, I was observed that you are also working with medical professional and institutes. So your guidance, your help, your tips may be useful for him also to achieve as he has thought. Can give you some few tips to him also just now. You can summarize your tips now, especially for our doctor.
I'm sorry, I was having a really hard time hearing. The sound was cutting out.
She is working with various committees as a leader, okay, and also medical professional, and you are also working for the medical professional medical institutes. So your experience you can share with him for more achieve his target, okay?
Okay, so for physician leaders, people in leadership roles in healthcare, the caregiver role is usually one of those meta roles. I'm the caretaker, I'm the fixer, right? That comes in a lot in my physicians, especially in surgeons. I'm the fixer. I will go in and repair the problem. And that carries over not just in your work life, it carries over into your home life. And when you have that role as the fixer, and that tends to, and the caretaker, right? I'm the one that's going to make people well. I'm going to care for them. And then that rolls over into home life. It's not just at the clinic or the hospital. What we see most often is that meta role of the fixer and the caretaker begins to create multiple roles that are reinforcing that in all elements of their life, and they don't pause to take care of themselves. They don't pause to go, what might I need to care for or nourish within myself? It usually becomes something where if their body gets a little noisy to tell them something's wrong, oh, I don't have time for that. I have all these other people to take care of. And leading often becomes at the expense of their own well-being. And that doesn't mean that they're exercising, they're eating right, they're doing all the right things. But because of that identity, they don't really step into who am I? So I have a lot of physician leaders that come to me and they're between 38 and 44 on average in age. And they show up and they say, I don't know who I am. If I'm not a vascular surgeon, if I'm not the charge nurse, I don't know who I am. And I don't know how to show up anymore because I know something just doesn't quite feel right. So those are some of the things that I see within healthcare. And one of the biggest differences in the population that I work with and high achievers and high performers is there isn't burnout. They don't relate to burnout. Burnout, I don't know what you're talking about. That is not me. Because they have this high generating energy system and they have a lot of skills and abilities, they can go and power through and really push themselves for a long time. And then they can recharge very quickly, most often. And that creates this constant cycle and belief that I can just keep going. And because they're taking care of themselves and because they're already doing all the right things, I even have some male clients who are on hormone replacement. They have testosterone that they use every day. And they're like, that helps my brain clarity. That helps, my love life. It helps me have stronger muscles. I feel better. And so it's not that they're not doing those things, but it's that in that moment, in that leadership and in who they're being and who they believe they are, there is this moment where they have expanded themselves in what they're doing and who they're being in so many areas because they're meeting external expectations and external success metrics. And when they stop to go, wow, I just won this massive award. I stuck it on my shelf and I didn't really feel anything. It wasn't fulfilling. That's usually when they start to ask, what's going on? Why don't I feel great about this?
Yeah, thank you. We enjoyed this all session. Yes.
Thank you very much for such an intellectual feast today.
Thank you for contributing to the conversation. You sparked my joy.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're wrapping up.
I have watched your so many videos on LinkedIn and your thoughts also in podcast and everywhere. So I impressed by you and invited you. You have accepted these things, our invitation. And from waiting of the 1 or 2 months you have replied. So I thought you were busy, but lastly you accepted our invitation and joined here. We enjoyed so much your thoughts, and I'm very much thankful from my organization and from all the participants with your precious time you have spent here. Now, one last, as a curiosity, I am asking you what you have kept in that corner as a wooden frame. It's real picture or it's the background of your room? What is that wooden part on right side?
This is my office. Yes. Is that what you were asking?
Wooden sticks are there. What is this?
Oh, these?
No. That lamp and that wooden sticks, long sticks are you have kept there.
Oh, the orchid. An orchid.
On your right side. No. On your right side, old wooden sticks are there. There is a bunch of that wooden.
Oh, this?
Yes, some best. That is.
Yes. Okay. That is from a wooden fence rail on our property, and it had rotted and fallen. And so my husband took it and he mounted it, and it has some barbed wire still embedded in it. And he put air plants in it, and it was a birthday present. It's so cool, right?
That's why I asked that one.
Yeah, and I have Lego flowers. I love Legos.
Yeah. Everything you have kept beautifully in your office. Now you might be having busy in your daily schedule. I am so much thankful from my all participants and from organization. In future also you will be here as a speaker. Thank you, Javeer Singh ji. Thank you to all participants. Thank you, Dr. Sanand Shukla sir. Thank you, Sonu Kumar ji. Thank you to you.
Thank you to each of you for
Thank
showing
you, sir.
up.
Thank you, ma'am. Interesting information. Thank you.
Which one did you identify with most?
He is the reporter of journalist.
Yes.
Young journalist of India.
As a journalist, which meta role did you identify with?
She will try to understand reply, not fluent in English, but trying to daily join here to learn so many things from us. So he will try to overcome him also and try to achieve his target in future. Thank you to you.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed spending time with all of you today. I appreciate it.
You can leave, no problem. Thank you.